Morning, everybody. I hope everybody is healthy and happy this morning. You are getting 7.4 this morning, and it is the second last booklet in this unit. And so you will be finished. You will have all of the assignments handed out as of tomorrow. You will get the last booklet. I'll post the last booklet tomorrow if you don't have it. And the week after spring break, I will post some things that have to do with the provincial standards test, because we will move forward. We'll be in a go forward position in the event that we do have provincial standards test. I want you to be as prepared as you can be. So some of you have an old copy of the provincial standards test from last year. But I will scan it and post it on the blog as well. Also, I will scan and post the exemplars, which is another word for student examples and how they have been marked. So English language arts is a little bit different than doing math because it's not quite as black and white. So you can see what are samples of good answers and some answers that you think are good and maybe aren't getting as many marks as you think they would. But in any event, unfortunately, we won't be together to work through those things, but we can, I can share some things with you in order for you to try and get prepared for that test as best you can. So today is 7.4, and it is many kids with jobs stay in school. And so often with these assignments, you will see things that are, with a partner share, and you can, if you want, again, keeping your social distance, or do it via whichever social media you choose to use. So on page 128, on the top left, there are some things that are vocabulary words that you may or may not know. This assignment also has some a graph reading for you to do, so that's good. And then what you're going to do is interpret that bar graph. So you're going to think about a number of things. At the bottom, it's interpreting the bar graph, so thinking about it, but not actually doing anything about it or writing any answers. Is what does the title tell you about the topic? Look at the headings, look at the vertical and horizontal axis of each graph, and then just look to see. So you can see that the percentage of high school dropouts by weekly hours of work total and gender. So there's a male and a female noted in this graph, and then there's the 0 hours, 20 to less than 30, and so on up the graph. So have a look at the graph and think about what is that telling you about the number of high school dropouts, what the relationship is between the number of high school dropouts and the weekly hours of work. And then you have two other variables in that graph, which are the gender variable. On the next page, you have some locating information. So what you're going to do is that first part is just a true and false. Go back to the graph, look at the graph, and then answer the questions that are there. So you need to look at the data and say this is true, or look at the data and say this is false. Also, the part B here, you have critical thinking, which is evaluating statistics. So A is just understanding the selection, is looking at it, looking at the data so that you're reading it properly, actually reading it. And then the critical thinking is, what do you make of that data? At the bottom, you can see that there is an extending portion, and it should say omit, or it should be scratched out. If you uploaded it from online, it will be scratched out because that's what I scanned this morning. Then on the last page, on page 130, you can use the internet to create your own graph. So it can be any kind of graph you choose, and you can choose whatever graph creator that there is online, because there's all kinds of that stuff online, or you can use Word to create a graph. However you want to do it is fine. And then you have part D on there, which is writing an opinion essay. And the purpose of an opinion essay is to persuade an audience of your peers to your way of thinking. So an audience of your peers might not just include the friends that you have in school. So the people, your peers, are sometimes not just your own age group, could be your professional peers. In your case, maybe not, might be your peers at work if you have a job. So think about who your peers are, and then you want to develop an opinion essay, and you want to convince them to your way of thinking. So it might be something to do with the COVID-19, about social isolation. could be something on that, because there's a ton of stuff in the news right now about that, so that might be a good one. And there's an essay planner below that, so you can use that planner to help you out with that. And then it is supposed to be 5 paragraphs, okay? So I would say, for those of you that are really tied into how long should it be, because I always get that question, how long should it be? My answer I always want to give is, it should be long enough for you to get your message across, but not so long that I'm falling asleep by the end of it. So 5 paragraphs, you have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and then a concluding paragraph. And so those body paragraphs are the ones that where you're laying out 3 different arguments and using some support from the internet, I would say, to support whatever that is about your opinion. So I would say this is likely not less than, I want to say, about a page and a half. I wouldn't go too much past 2 pages. So around in the 2-page mark will absolutely be sufficient. You don't want to go too much over that. And that's the assignment for today. So if you have any questions, again, make sure that you're reaching out to me, bwalker@ffsd.mb.ca. I am going to try and get in touch with a few people today. If I have phone numbers for you, I will try your phone number. If I don't have your phone number, I'm going to try email, because I really want you to keep going forward, because you're really close to the end of the finish line in this course. And don't give up on it now. And remember, even if you are not finished by the end of the week after spring break, which is when our quarter changes, you can also continue to work after that, unless something different happens with closing schools and we're not available. But I wouldn't give up just because you're not finished all of the assignments at the end of this week after spring break. So don't give up yet. It's not time to give up yet. And I want everybody to have a great day. Again, I can't stress this enough, is to make sure you're keeping physical distance from people, wash your hands, and stay healthy.